Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Neighbors Helping Neighbors podcast brought to you by the Robertson County Democratic Party. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kaylee, and those of you on video will see that I'm not joined by Morgan today. I am joined by Lore Bergman,
Hello.
but we will get to introductions in a second. As always, I will start with just general announcements, things going on. So just a reminder, we have our weekly Ice Out protests outside the Robertson County Courthouse from 8:30 to 11 on Wednesday mornings, and then our Saturday Springfield Speaks protest series, again, has been moved from 9 to 12 a.m. just to beat the heat a little bit. So you're not all out there in the heat of the day. And then a reminder that not next Thursday, but the following Thursday will be a town hall kind of meeting for all of the Democratic candidates for Congressional District 7. So come out to that. That will be at the Springfield High School. Lore here will be one of our guests at that event. So if you want to hear more from her after today's episode, be sure to make it out there. And then we did mention last week, we talked about all of the important election info for the primary coming up in August. I'm not going to go through all those dates again. I will just post them in the description. But the biggest reminder is make sure you are registered to vote by July 7th. That is the deadline to be able to vote in August. Yes. So all of that being said, I will introduce our guest today, Lore Bergman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
She is one of the Democratic candidates for, well, I almost went into my natural announcement for introductions. Lore is a special case. She's actually running in 2 districts.
Yeah.
So she is a candidate in House District 7, and then she is also a write-in candidate. Did I say that right?
No.
House District 6, you are a write-in candidate for 7.
It's 7.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for all of you listening,
I will explain that if you want me to.
All of you listening who are in Robertson County, you are in District 7. If you would like to vote for Lore in the primaries, you must write her name in. Her name will not appear on the ballot. So very, very important. And also, you do have a unique spelling of Lore, so if you do your best to spell it correctly, but there are precautions for that. But before we get into why you're running in 2 districts and all of that good stuff, do you just want to go ahead, introduce yourself, and kind of talk about just why you wanted to run in the first place?
I'm Lore Bergman. My first name is spelled Lore or Lore. Some people think it's pronounced Lore, but it is Lore. I am running for the second time. I am running again for the same things I ran for the first time. I warned people that they were going to come after Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP and all the things you need when you're in trouble and you need help. And people didn't believe me. And here we are. So I believe that we have enough money in our country, if we would do the budget properly, that we could even have free health care at this point. I myself have disabilities. I'm wearing a mask today because I have a wonky immune system. I catch things really easily. So when I'm inside, I got to wear a mask. So I'm running for the most vulnerable, the disabled, the elderly. I became disabled when I was very young. It can happen to anyone overnight. Some people think this doesn't apply to them, but it applies to everyone because I went to work one day. I had to be rushed to the hospital. The next day I was considered disabled. And that's when I started paying attention to what the government is for. It is for us, the people, we the people. It is to be there when we need help. It is a service. It is not a money-making venture, okay? It's to help the American people. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I have a long personal story. I've been through a lot in my life, and I believe that will help me write really good legislation when I go to Congress because I've had to live it. And most of the congressmen that we have now have never been through anything. Okay, most of them are millionaires. They've probably never pumped their own gas, many of them, even gone to the grocery store. And I believe what's missing in Congress is regular, hardworking people and people with disabilities also, because I believe the big, beautiful bill never would have passed if we had had more people who understood that taking money from these programs is going to just make chaos, and it's causing fear and anxiety, and also many people are going to be homeless and hungry. So that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, a lot of things to dig into there that I'm
Yes.
sure we will get to. But before all of that, probably should clarify the whole why 2 districts, what
Yes.
happened. And I know a big part of that was the congressional redistricting. So feel free to speak to your thoughts on that as well
Okay.
in the meantime.
Well, we can blame it on the Republicans. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so out of all of the candidates, the Democratic candidates in the 6th and the 7th, I was the only one that they actually drew the line right around my house and pushed me into the 7th. Sumner County is where I live. That is now 9/10 of it are in the 7th. Okay. Now, there are some Republicans I'm running against that live in Sumner County. They went and made sure they drew the line right around their house and kept them in, right? And then they came down to me. Now, the only reason I can think of is that I won the Democratic primary in 2024. This is the second time I'm running. I've been working in the 6th district now for almost 4 years. Okay. I won 17 of the 19 counties that used to be in the 6th district. 4 of those counties are now in the 7th. Okay, that's Macon, Trousdale, part of Davidson, and most of Sumner County. I had to decide. We were allowed to keep running in the district, even though I don't live in 6 anymore. I live in 7. And you guys have been in 7 the whole time.
Yes.
But you lost a lot of counties.
We did lose a lot.
There's only eight counties now. I already won primaries in 4 of the counties in the 7th. So I had a really hard decision to make. And it wouldn't have been so hard if they didn't let all these new candidates jump in at the last minute.
Sure.
So I decided that I was going to stay in the 6th because most of the counties I had won were in the 6th. But then when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to campaign in my own neighborhood, my volunteers couldn't vote for me anymore. My own county, Sumner County Democratic Party, couldn't vote for me anymore. My neighbors couldn't vote for me anymore. I'm like, okay, this is not fair. All right, this is, and they were, people were upset. And I said, I'm not going to let them disenfranchise my voters because that's exactly what the Republicans are trying to do with this, all of this. So the Secretary of State, I had asked them if I could run in both, and they were like, well, you can't have your name on both ballots.
Yep.
But you can be a write-in candidate for one. So that's why I'm a write-in candidate in the 7th. And like I already said, 4 of the counties already know me. They already voted for me. And the problem with the write-in candidacy, though, is that you have to do everything by word of mouth.
Yep, exactly.
And I don't have a ton of money to do 100 million signs that say write-in candidate. And I certainly can't do a TV commercial. So I have to do as many things as I can and go in person to as many things as I can, which is my philosophy anyways. So that's it in a nutshell. It's very complicated. If you have any questions, you can go to my website and contact me, and I will be more than happy to explain it to you again. I do have some videos on my socials, Facebook and stuff, that explains why. Yeah. Tells people why.
Yes. So the very difficult decision to be in with all of that.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, it's so hard to know now which district you're even in to know who to vote for. I mean,
sure.
it just complicates everything. So to your point, it's absolutely to disenfranchise
Yep,
the non-Republican voters.
And the Republicans have made a point and said, we are not going to tell people what district they're in.
Yep.
And you know what's so crazy? They did it to their own people, too. They messed them up. Now, they didn't mess them up as bad as they did me, but a lot of those people were already campaigning. They had already spent money in certain counties, and then they cut the counties out. I don't understand the logic of it, but I would think that would make a lot of Republicans angry, and I hope they're going to be angry that they're finally going to wake up and vote different.
You would hope. Maybe even at least part of them, if not all of them, then.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So to get a little bit into just your platform, your policies, kind of what you're fighting for, I wanted to start with your campaign slogan, actually, which is "Love Thy Neighbor," and it's quite fitting. Our episode last week was on the separation of church and state, so I have to bring it up. I just wanted to ask, as someone who has that as their campaign slogan, but has also spoke about the importance of separation of church and state. How do you kind of balance that line of following your beliefs, but not, letting it be too forceful on others?
Well, I think, what is, I can't remember now. What is the name of that association that deals with separation of church and state? Americans United, I think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
called.
yep, that sounds right.
Yes. And they say, and they have some great t shirts, and I want to get one. It says, the government is not a church. Okay, period.
Yep.
The government is not a church. We are here to support every religion. We are a democracy. We are not a theocracy. Now, I am a Christian. If you read my story online, I have a couple of lines about how I grew up an extreme fundamental independent Baptist. Um, we thought all the other Baptists were liberal.
Sure.
So when I hear people use words like liberal, conservative, they don't mean anything to me because
Yep.
it depends where you are on the scale, okay, or whatever. Um, and I believe that everyone has a right to worship how they want. Now, we have a lot of Christian nationalists in the 6th district, and I know there's some in the 7th too. Tennessee is
Yes,
kind of being overtaken by them.
it is.
We have a lot of people that are running for office now that are starting to believe this and preach this. And I've talked to pastors about this when I go to many fairs and festivals. And the pastors say, well, I say, well, what kind of Christian are you talking about? Well, those who follow the Bible. I said, there are millions. Within the Baptists, there are millions of different beliefs. Who's going to be in charge? And they
Yep,
can't give me a good answer.
of course.
So, and I was in Macon County at the Hillbilly Festival on Friday, and I talked to some people. They were Seventh-day Adventist. And we were talking about this, and they said, yes, we believe in separation of church and state, because if we don't have separation of church and state, we won't be able to worship how we want to be. And I said, exactly. That's the whole point. And they knew the history of how the Pilgrims came here from England because the Church of England was demanding that they worship the way they tell them to. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So, yeah, it's crazy, but you can be a Christian and you can believe in love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor to me is the most basic tenet of the Bible. I grew up with the legalism and the
Sure.
rules, and I believe that the love and grace part, that kind of Christianity, is where I'm at. And if we would just be loving towards immigrants, okay, towards people of color, towards women, um, towards the gay community, what the gay community is going through in Tennessee is just horrible to me. We wouldn't have all this stupid backfighting and this stuff that we here in Tennessee. I've seen these. I don't know if you've seen the ads lately for a few people that are running for office. We don't like this DEI stuff. And then they say they're Christians.
Yes.
Well, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yep.
Okay. If you don't like that, how can you say that you are a Christian?
Yep.
So that's why I use that term, because I
yeah.
just feel like it's simple. That's what I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
If we would just love each other, have empathy, we wouldn't try to be taking away Social Security from people. We wouldn't be taking away SNAP benefits when people are hungry. We'd be concentrating on the people that need the help instead of concentrating on the few that are being fraudulent, because there is fraud, but not like they say.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
anyway.
no, that's awesome. I love to hear it as a Christian myself, that it is sometimes concerning almost that it feels like the Republican Party is stealing almost the like label of, if you're a Christian, you must be Republican. And that is by far not the case for at least from people I've met and know in the party.
Yeah, and they're also okay with the cruelty.
Exactly.
Like being cruel and making fun of people. So anyway, we could go on a long time about that.
We could do the whole interview talking about that. So,
exactly.
So you mentioned some policies already, or some issues, I should say. The gay community, women, disabled people, kind of. There's a lot of issues right now. Immigration is obviously a huge one. If you could narrow it down, and I know it's so hard to narrow it down in this administration right now, but to maybe the top 2 or 3 that, if you were elected, the first things you would want to start addressing once you got there?
Well, the first thing is to impeach Donald Trump.
Fair enough.
And then it's time to get him out of office.
Fair enough.
Okay. And then we were just talking about this in the car, is then to go through and impeach everybody else.
Sure.
And that would take a long time to do. So it would be easier if we would just get the House and the Senate. and then we could fight and try to reverse some of this nuttiness that's been going on.
Sure.
Okay. But separate from that, my platform, the first thing is to save and expand all the programs I was talking about. Social Security. Okay. They've already said now, Mike Johnson just said it a couple of weeks ago, that they're going to start cutting it in 2032. That's only like 5.5 years from now. Okay. Now, when I was on disability, I lived below the poverty line. And they seem to attack the poorest first because they have to have a program called SSI on top of their disability because the government requires you to have so much money. They could cut the SSI part immediately. And then
Sure.
the poorest of the poor would be the ones that are being treated the worst. Okay. And then let's talk about Medicare and Medicaid and all those other programs. We see billions of dollars being wasted every day. It is insane the amount of money that has been wasted in the last year and a half in our country. For what? Unneeded wars, right? For ballrooms, for arches, for
Yes.
a reflecting algae pool. Okay, we could go on and on. It's absolute insanity. And then they say, we don't have it in the budget to save Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. I'm sick of hearing it. And we know now that that is not true. We've never seen a president waste money like this before. Okay. So if we would just take that money and put it in the budget for the people of America, we wouldn't have to worry about all these programs, right? We could help the people who need the help, but they don't want to do it. They
No.
want to give the tax breaks to the billionaires, right?
Yep.
That's what they want to do. So my next thing would be to tax the super rich and make sure they pay their fair share and get rid of all the loopholes, which makes them able not to pay their fair share.
Sure.
Okay. Do you know that the rich used to be taxed 90% over a certain amount of income?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if that was totally fair, but in those days when they were doing that, there were very few people that were there wealthy.
Yes.
Okay, that's when we probably had monopolies in the early 1900s, and we got rid of the monopolies because it was like the Rockefellers and somebody else had all the money.
Yeah, that was
in
it.
the whole country. They controlled everything. And that's what we're seeing is happening again. Monopolies are coming in, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If we did that, we'd have plenty of money in the budget to help the American people.
Yep.
Okay. We wouldn't have to be giving everyone anxiety and threatening them. And people that have been paying into Social Security for years would know that they would be there for them when they got to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've talked to a lot of people that say, I don't even expect to have it by the time I'm there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm one of those.
I hear you. I hear you. And that's not right.
No.
You've been paying into it.
Yeah.
So, so that's my second thing. Let's see. Then, of course, I've been homeless. That's a whole nother story. I've been through a landlord retaliated against me and made me homeless. And so I've been through a lot, and I have a different perspective about affordable housing, safe, clean, and affordable housing. Let me put those with it because we can do affordable housing, but if it's not safe and clean, what's the point of it? Okay. And I'm not talking $25 cheaper in the place next door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And the housing here in Tennessee has just gotten out of control, the prices.
Oh,
so
yeah.
maybe we need to have some freezing or some rent control. I'm a big city girl. I've lived here in Tennessee 22 years, but I've lived in cities that have rent control. Okay. And maybe it's time that we did that. So that's there's so many things.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. That was a very hard question to narrow it down to 3.
You have to go to my website, and hopefully I will meet you in person, and I will give you one of my cards. I try to put it all on my little card. I put as much as I could on that little card. My cards are only about this big, but my first thing is for the people. We the people. That's it. I am not for corporations. I don't take corporate money or anything like that. I don't have my own money to use in my campaign either. I actually won my primary in 2024 with less than
Oh,
$2,000.
wow. I did not know that. That's
Yes, I
awesome.
did. And I beat two guys who both had more money than
Oh,
me.
wow. That's awesome.
So if you're running for office, don't think you're going to lose just because they have more money than you.
Yep. It's about putting in the work, right?
That is it. Like I
Yep.
said, I believe in going in person, and that's what I do. And it's hard. I run my volunteers ragged, but I do as much as I can because I believe that going and talking to them in person is the most important thing. So, yeah.
And that's as voters, I think I speak for all of us when we say we
yes,
appreciate it, because
I've had many people say to me, they'll look at my picture and like, oh, that's you, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, they're shocked, and I'm doing my own campaigning.
Yeah.
And I think, wow, and one of my volunteers the other day, she was listening to Obama, and they were talking about the presidential library and everything opening, and that
Mm-hmm.
the Democrats needed to get back to in-person canvassing.
Mm-hmm.
Not expecting everyone else to do it for you just because you have a lot of money
Yep.
and they can do it for you. You got to go out and you got to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
because I sometimes see some really good managers for candidates, and that it's kind of like the people are voting for the manager, not the
Sure.
candidate, because
Yeah.
the manager's doing all the work.
Yep.
The manager's doing all the talking,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get to know the candidate and they're just like,
But that's not who I thought I was voting for.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So
Imagine how much different Congress would be if all of the representatives actually talked to their
yeah,
constituents.
most of them would go,
the-
why are we voting for this guy?
Yep, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So I guess to follow up on some of those policy related issues, you have things that I think a lot of people agree are things that need fixed, need
Yes.
addressing, but they're also at the same time things that people have been kind of talking about fixing for a while. So
Yes.
what would you say to people to maybe give them confidence that you'll actually be able to change these things that you're trying to change?
Well, I always say I hope to change these things because we have to understand how Congress works.
Sure.
And people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you ever seen the little I'm Just a Bill little cartoon?
Yep.
How long it takes for a bill and what
Yep.
all the processes it has to go through. And, how many people we have in the House of Representatives, and
Mhm.
we have to vote, and then it has to go to the Senate.
Yep.
That's got to go to the president. He can veto it, and blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. It's a lot. So, but I do have some really good ideas for bills. And one of them is it would be a really big, real beautiful bill for women. It would
Sure.
codify many things just for women because we are being attacked now.
Mhm.
I was just reading yesterday that there are so many these religious nationalists the women are saying, "Oh, I'd be fine with my husband voting for me."
That's wild.
I know.
Wild. I couldn't imagine.
I mean, I've had women come up to me on the trail and say, like, well, I don't think women should have any, positions of authority at all. And I'm just like, oh, God. Please get back in your time machine and go back to wherever you came from,
Yes.
okay?
Mhm.
It's shocking, but we have a lot of that here in Tennessee.
Mhm.
And hopefully it's not spreading around the country too much, but God, there's a lot of that. So that's a bill I would love to do, deal with the reproduction rights, the
Mhm.
child marriage.
Sure.
Um, uh, Personal one for me is being able to prosecute your abusers.
Mhm.
There should be no time limits on that.
Oh, absolutely.
States have all different time limits. It should
Mhm.
all be the same.
Yes.
Okay, all be the same. Same with the child marriage.
Mhm.
It should be a federal law
Yeah.
that people under a certain age are not allowed to get married.
Mhm.
Period. Okay. Um. So and voting and the voting rights for women.
Yes.
Okay. And then they've been kind of talking about employment for women too.
Mhm.
I swear, I think they watch like The Handmaid's Tale and they get all
Oh,
their,
they had
get all
had
their
to.
ideas,
Yeah.
right? They go, oh, let's do
That's
that.
a good idea.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And women got to wake up.
Mhm.
White women got to wake up.
Yes, yeah, especially
Yes.
because the Black women of color always show up for
Yes.
us and
And
put in the work.
They
and
get it.
yeah.
But the white women are like, like I was at Montgomery County on
Mhm.
Saturday for Juneteenth, and I'm talking to all the Black women, and they're all registered and ready to go vote. And then there was a couple of white women there, and they're like, "Oh, we don't vote." And I'm like,
But
why?
you really
We
should,
just
though.
don't, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know what's going on with our rights right now? We're being attacked every single day in a
Mhm.
different way. And they're like, we don't vote. And I'm like, so white women, wake up.
Mhm. Please. All right. And I was almost going to say last question, but second to last question.
Okay.
So I wanted to circle back to the fact that you're running in 2 districts, and you kind of have touched on this a little bit with the fact that your previous primary, you've kind of already hit some counties that are now in the 2 separate districts.
Yes.
But what would you say to any voters out there who are maybe concerned that because you're running in 2 districts, you're not able to kind of fully understand one and are maybe a little half in both rather than fully in one?
Well, like I said, half of the 7th district,
Mhm.
I already won primaries in
Yep.
half of the counties. So I can kind of understand, but when I tell them how they split it and,
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, okay, I get it now."
Yeah.
Because they think that nothing if I hadn't won a primary in 2024,
Sure.
I wouldn't do this.
Yep.
But I already did.
Mhm.
In fact, I won Davidson County in the
Mm.
general
Mhm.
election also against John Rose, not
Yep.
just the primary.
Mhm.
Okay? So, um, I have a lot of people who wanted to vote for me, like
Mhm.
I said. And listen, my vote is split up.
Yeah.
Okay? They
Yep.
split my vote.
Mhm.
They wanted me out, it is obvious.
Yep.
They didn't do it to my male Democratic
Mhm.
opponents. They
Sure.
left them in.
Mhm.
They're at the end of the district. All I had to do was cut them out.
Mhm.
So I can't add those votes together.
Sure.
But like I told somebody yesterday, I'm not doing this. I'm doing it for the voters
Mhm.
because like I said, the Republicans are trying to disenfranchise voters and they're trying to cut the Democratic votes up.
Mhm.
And we got to fight it any way we can. And
Yep.
so when I found out I could do this, I said, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I have a right to do it.
You do. Yeah.
Because I've had people in some of my opponents in the
Mm.
6th
Mhm.
district, one in particular, I'm not going to say his name. He wanted me to stay in the 7th.
Mm.
And then people in the 7th, I live in the 7th now.
Yep.
People in the 7th are like, oh no, you should stay in the 6th. Now, they wouldn't have done that to a guy.
No, they wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm like, I will do what I think is best for my campaign.
Yeah.
And, because some people are worried, well, what if you win in both? And I'm like, well, thank you for thinking I could.
Yeah, that's hopeful thinking, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, if I had more time and money, maybe I could. Because
Sure.
a write-in candidacy is not easy.
Mhm.
But like I said, I won those 4 counties out of the 8 in the 7th. And then I won the majority. I think we have 12 or 13 left now in the 6th district. They added a couple
They added
too,
some. Yep.
over there too. So I think I only didn't win 2 of those
Sure.
in the last election. I won 17 of the 19 counties. So I have a right to, do it. And I know it aggravates them. It's usually the opponents that are upset about it.
They just don't want to lose twice.
Yeah, the opponents are, and they're all men, by the way.
Yeah, yep, that makes sense too.
All of them
Yep.
are men.
Makes sense.
And this is what I went through. 2024, I ran against 2 guys, and when I won the primary, the one guy was so upset and said I only won because I was at the top of the
Of the listed names that.
which it does help in 1%, they say, but I beat him by like 7. So
I think you were going to win anyway.
yeah. So I was just kind of like, okay, and I laughed because this is when you're running for office as a woman and you have mostly men or all men running against you, you got to have tough skin, and you just got to say, egos,
Yep.
testosterone, whatever.
Yep. Not worth the fight, right?
It's not. It's just, you just, plug it up and just go on. And I think because I've been through so much in my life, once you've lived in your car, okay, not much bothers you anymore.
Sure. I can understand how that would change you, change your perspective.
I survived that with my health stuff.
Yeah.
I survived it. It took me months to get over it, but I survived. And once you get over that, you're okay.
Awesome. Well, we love to hear it. Best of luck in both districts.
Thank you.
Our last question is a softball. It is just, how can people find you, learn more about you, get involved with your campaign if they're interested?
Sure. Okay, let me say one more thing about that question.
Yeah, of course.
I just want you to know there's the same amount of counties now that I'm running in. So when they say half and half, it's not true.
Sure.
I have no more counties than I did before. Let me just yeah.
Yep.
So anyways, if you want to get in touch with me, please go to my website, Lore Bergman. Okay, my first name is spelled once again, Lore, like folklore. Okay. It's pronounced Lori though. My last name is Bergman, like iceberg, Berg, and then you add a man to it, MAN. So it's not that difficult, okay? And then my website is lorebergman.org, okay? I have my email on there if you want to email me, but I also have a campaign phone number that I have on my card, and I give that to people all the time too, and they can call me if they want that way. And then let's see. I'm on all social medias. If anybody wants to help me with social media, I would appreciate it. I've had like 5 people volunteer and then they disappear. So
oh no,
it was like that last time too. It's like the thorn in my side. Social media takes a lot of time.
It does. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. So you can contact me that way too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being on. Thank you to all the listeners. We are trying to get all the candidates we can. So go back and listen to Josh's interview if you enjoyed Lori's, and we hope to see you around.
Yes, thank you so much.